Hi. In the previous few parts, I had shown some websites. The websites that I'd shown were actually all made in a tool called Quarto, like this particular website. And then you can also create these different notebooks, which you can render nicely. These are Jupyter notebooks, which are rendered nicely in this blog-like fashion. So in this, I'm using this system called Quarto, which is an open source scientific and technical publishing system. So you can create your content in Jupyter notebooks or in Markdown, and it also presents a lot of publication options. You can export the output in HTML, PDF, MS Word, EPUB, and the others. So to just facilitate the task of creating a website, which enables you to create Markdown content as well as Jupyter notebook-like content, I have created a template repository, which is made in Quarto. Like the contents would be published via Quarto. Before going through the contents of this, first let's see the output. This is the website that will get created. It is a simple homepage where you can add content in Markdown. And then it has a blog, which you can see as a listing. The first of which is a Jupyter notebook. And the second one is a simple Markdown post, which you can see contains some code, it contains some maths, it contains some lists and some tables. To make it very easy for you, I will show how you can use this template which I've created. It's a template repository. All you need to do is to go to this button, use this template, and create a new repository. And say if you want to say test, whatever name you want to give. In my case, I'm giving it a test template. Importantly, ensure that you click on include all branches, because we want to also include GitHub pages branch. Once I click on that, I create this repository. It just takes a few seconds to generate from this template. Once it does so, you can now see in the settings and in the pages that it is already set to deploy from a branch, and the branch is already set to GitHub pages. So all of that configuration is already done because it's a templated repository. And if we go to actions, we can see that it is already building out the GitHub pages. So if we click on this, we can see it's deployed already. Now my deployed website looks like the exact same as the template repository, which is very good. I didn't have to do anything. And when it is creating this, rendering this, we can go back to the action and see what was happening under the hood. So it is this build process. This is for the GitHub pages part. The first part is where we are actually getting the Quarto publish action to work, which is an action I created. It will download this Quarto system. Render and publish is the most important aspect. Here you can see that I have 4 files. I have a Markdown file and I have 2 special Markdown files. These are Quarto Markdown files, and then I have a Jupyter notebook. All of them get rendered in this format. Like this is a Jupyter notebook, this is a Markdown file, and this is my home Markdown page. Now, once you've created this repository in your own account, you could just go and clone it so that you can make some changes. And here also I'll show some important things to consider. So firstly, the branches which I'm using is master and GitHub pages. Ensure that the compatibility is the same. So here, if you are using the master branch in GitHub workflows in publish.yml, you also want to see that the workflow is dispatched when any push is made to the master branch. In some cases, it may be main, because I think GitHub has now moved from master to main as the default. So just ensure that this is the same as the branch to which you commit the code. I have cloned the repo, test template. I will just open VS Code here, and let me show you a few files. So one, I have a no Jekyll to ensure that Jekyll does not process this. Quarto.yml is the main organization file. I tell that my project is of the type website. There are other things also, like you can give a book also. This is what you were seeing in the title of the page. So you were seeing this Quarto template in the title of the page. we can say we have made some changes. Index.qmd, then it is pointing, the text home points to index.qmd and the text blog points to this blog.qmd. I'm using only the light theme. You can also have a light and a dark theme both, and I'm using some highlight style. I'm using some main font, etc. I have specified in my style file where to get this Roboto font, and some rules I've specified for the nav bar. Now, if I go on to my index.qmd, this is just simple markdown. You could have also added, this is my website homepage, and the other files. So blog.qmd is just pointing out, it's a listing. So it is pointing out this is a Quarto, like this is just the title. It is looking at the contents of the post folder. It is sorting them by descending order of the date, and the type is default, the categories is true. Importantly, we go on to where you want to put your notebooks and your main content, which is going to change. Welcome.md is a simple markdown file. At the start of each file, you can see that we have to specify this header. Now this has to be done very carefully. It's a YML format. You have to be careful to ensure that the spaces, everything is matched. And here you can notice that what I had put in this particular blog post. I go to blog, I go to welcome. You can see the contents being rendered here. I have written some code in Markdown, which is Python syntax rendered, some math equation, some list, some tables. And then I can also show you this notebook. Importantly, when we write Jupyter notebooks, the first cell we have to keep as raw text, where we put in this metadata. So don't keep this as Markdown or Python. Then it is not clearly understood by Quarto. So you keep it as raw text. The way you change this is to just select this raw. And then you can just write anything in the notebook. Like I've currently just created this. So if I now just run my notebook as I would regularly do, I've created these few cells. Maybe I want to create a pandas data frame also. And df equal to some pd.dataframe and df.plot. So this has created the same plot. This was just to show you that you can modify these few place things. You could have also created another notebook in the same post folder. It will also get rendered, or you can create more markdown files also. The important thing is to just ensure that you have the required metadata at the top in the correct format. Now I will just push these changes. And I will just push them. Now we will check on our version of this repository, not on the template. We'll see that this commit has come. This is corresponding to actions, the first one being Quarto publish, and then the page will build on GitHub pages. As I mentioned, importantly, we have to look at this render and publish part of the action, which is where the main thing is happening, which is getting converted to the right format. We had these 4 files which have now been correctly rendered, and I think the action has completed, it's almost completed. The GitHub pages deployment is now going to be completed soon. Once it finishes, we would have to just refresh the pages. Here you can see that this title has changed. In the home, I had added this new content. In the blog files, in the visualization one, I had added this new content. So you can see all of these changes have been reflected. So the important thing here is that the action runs on the GitHub servers. You don't have to do anything to build the website. All you have to ensure is that the formats are correct. Sometimes you'll get some errors in the deployment, and that's where you can figure out if the YAML is not correctly configured or if there are some other bugs.